Hi, folks. Um, we're about halfway through the class right now, and we've been aiming our cameras at what we call photo opportunities. Um, we try and keep our eyes out for things in nature, people, situations, uh, interesting lighting and shadows. Um, but the important thing about it so far has been that we've always had recognizable subject matters. And it's true that when people go to a big city like New York, um, many of them are going to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art because they're going to see paintings and sculptures of people and places and things, and they're going to be in their comfort zone. New York also has a bunch of museums that are dedicated to, for lack of a better term, we'll say modern art, or we'll say contemporary art. And if you decide to go to one of those museums, you may end up looking at paintings and sculptures and photographs that are interesting to look at but hard to interpret. Um, they will not just jump right out at you and say, I'm a picture of a beautiful bunch of flowers, or I'm a picture of the sun going down over the sea with beautiful clouds and surf coming in. Um, these are two different kinds of art. And right now we need a boost in our phonography. Um, we feel maybe like we've shot our surroundings and our everyday life has been tapped out, and now we need something more to train our eyes to see. So I won't tell you that you can go from being a lover of traditional and representational art. I won't say that you can throw a switch and you can go into the contemporary art museums and take a look at things um, and feel, oh, well, that's great, that's really cool. It takes some time. If you were raised, and our culture, you know, we gain a lot from our parents and our schools um, and our friends. And if we're used to seeing a certain kind of art as we grow up, we incorporate that into our character and our personality and our profile. Uh, some of you have had that type of an upbringing, and that's not a bad upbringing at all. Um, there are other people who have grown up with perhaps parents who hang abstract pictures. You know, the room is filled with greens of different types, green furniture, green pillows, and this and that. And they say, well, we need something on the wall here. Let's just get a big red painting. And it's not really a painting of everything. Sometimes you're going to see this in your doctor's office, in your waiting rooms, contemporary type of pictures. So I have a assignment put up on Canvas, and it has two PowerPoints that I would really like you to take your time and study. But very quickly, in blue, right up here, it says that there is a kind of art which is to do with realism. And in a sense, it's like if you had a mirror and you held the mirror up to the subject and you froze the mirror, you froze the image on the mirror, that we would call realism or representational art. If you draw, if you sketch, you're going to be envious of those people who can pick up a pencil and get all the perspective and all the shading right and all the proportions right, and they are working in that type of genre, realism and representationalism. Now, about the time that Impressionism was happening, I see the slideshow for this one, we have a new term called abstract, and that's in green. And for lack of a better phrase, I put down, it's cartoonish. Well, you're not going to see really cartoons, but cartoons are simplified images. They are not realistic. And in a cartoon, the artist can change colors at will. If he wants to make somebody with a green face, or she wants to draw somebody who has a body that's, 1/3 the size of the head, and you can still recognize the figure, meaning this is a person. So if it's a bunch of flowers, but they've been simplified to be a logo on a sweatshirt, like I've been to Alaska, and maybe I see some columbine or some sort of wildflower, but it's like a profile or something that's very simple. So in an abstract, the subject is recognizable, but it is not real. It's been altered in some ways. So one real easy way to do that is just to go out and find something shiny and something reflective, and it has some bends and it has some twists in it, and take a picture of something being reflected on that surface. And it's still recognizable, but it's all distorted and abstract. And then we have the non-objective. And this is where, about 1910, this is where some artists got up the nerve to try and create paintings that had no recognizable subject matter. And it was a hard sell, because the art community of the day was not ready for that. But the artists argued, and they said, in science, we have now discovered we have the periodic table of elements, so that what we see with our eyes is really not what's happening at the atomic level. We have different elements that are combining with each other to create life forms, or steel or plastic. And so why can't artists just concentrate on the elements of art? And you've just been through 9 different groupings of guidelines for composition. Each one of those is tied to an element or a principle. So the more abstract and the more abstract art became, all of a sudden it got to a turning point, it got to a threshold, and painters were saying, wow, I just love this yellow and blue that is next to each other. And maybe it was started out as a painting of a sunset, yellow at the horizon and blue at the horizon, and all of a sudden the painter said, well, forget that, I don't need to make it a picture of something. The color relationship is speaking, it's talking, it's giving us a feeling. So it's kind of like music that doesn't have any words to it. And we definitely know that that can be very beautiful. Now, I've just pulled a couple of pictures out here. Oh, the last thing is, when we see this non-objective art, it's kind of like a puzzle. And many artists create the puzzle and they want you to provide the solution. And there's more than one right answer. So they're very kind of poetry based. So I can show you a non-objective picture and you'll say one thing and somebody else will say another thing. And if the artist is overhearing it, the artist will say, that's fine. There is no one right answer. Well, here is a distortion shot right here. And this is a picture that was taken of a shiny car in the big city. And if you look at it to start with, you don't quite get it. You don't quite see the shiny car in the big city. And it's a visual puzzle. And if you ask the artist, is this because you love the car? They'll say, oh, no, no, no. I like the shapes. I like the values. I like the curves. I like the bright and dark pattern. Now, we had a pretty crazy guy in the 1920s by the name of Moholy-Nagy. And he went into the darkroom with no negatives at all. And he went in there with just light sensitive paper, and he put things on top of the paper and then turned on the light. And what you're looking at are reversed shadows here. So normally it would be dark, but this is a reversal. And Moholy-Nagy said, I want to make images of things that nobody has ever seen before, and nobody can say with definite truth that this is such and such. And he explained it this way. He said, I want to make pictures of things that might be encountered in another star system, far away from Earth, someplace that nobody has ever been. But they take a picture and they see something like this. And he said, that's the way I want my pictures to be, kind of like visitors from another planet. Here's another early experiment, probably about 1910 or 1920. And don't worry, you're not going to really be able to tell what it is, but it is a pattern that's been created by a light machine, and it has lights and darks, and even though these things are non-objective, there are centers of interest. There is the rule of thirds and quite a few of them. So don't forget, when you're making your pictures, it's not just an exercise in taking a picture of bubble wrap. That would be a pattern, you know, the same thing happening over and over. These kind of pictures, they have centers of interest to them. And here's a close-up of a piece of machinery, and it's so close that when we look at it, at first we wonder, is this architecture, or is this a big machine, or is this a small machine? And the artist would say, I just fell in love with the forms, the surfaces. I love the texture, the way the highlights and the way the shadows are. And I'm going to use a diagonal line because that's something that I can borrow from my guidelines of composition. And I want to use form. I want to make it look like it's something that can be picked up. But I don't want to exactly say what it is. Do you see how this might add to your possibilities? When you're around the house, you might be looking at things close up. Sometimes we call that macro photography. This is a texture picture, okay? And it gets close to being a pattern, but there are variants in it. And when you start to look at the bottom, you'll see that those are bigger. This is kind of eroded wood or eroded stone. You'll see that the kind of shingle-like things. They're kind of bigger, and when they go up, they're kind of smaller. So it's not just a pattern like a piece of wallpaper. It has centers of interest in it. It has eye traffic patterns. Don't forget to make an eye traffic pattern in your picture. And the correct response when somebody's looking at your picture might be, the first thing they might say is, what is it? Okay, what is it? And then the second thing they might say is, hey, that's nice. I really like it. I'm okay. I don't know what it is, but I feel like something cool's happening here. And I feel like, you know, I could hang that up on the wall and I could live with that for a while. So that's your very brief intro, and I hope that you will spend some time with both of the PowerPoints in the assignment. And then I would love to see your phonography being displayed with dates on it, so that I know that you're trying to take at least a picture every day. I've cut it back down to roughly 25 pictures a week, but I'm noticing that there are a few of you guys that are just going out on one day and going bang, 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 shoot, 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 and that's not the habit that I'm trying to get you into. I'm trying to get you into being a photographer, and a photographer is always alert for photo ops and photo opportunities. So when you're titling your picture, please put down, you know, what the date was that you took the picture. And when you upload your album, then I'm going to see a whole variety of different dates, and I'll know that you're carrying your phone camera with you and you're keeping your eyes open for opportunities, because that's a big, big part of photography. So I hope that doesn't mean you can't take representational. Yeah, you can do that. Okay, it's fine. You don't have to do 100% switch, but it's just to open up the field and give you guys more opportunities, because some of you are feeling like you're wearing out your environment. So anyways, hope your photography is providing you with some personal satisfaction, and I look forward to seeing your pictures.